Hello and welcome to Goodnight Channel. I'm PJ.
And I'm Jake. And together,
oh my god,
we're taking on the 52 game challenge.
Finally, we're together.
Finally, we're together. This week, we're on game 20.
Last week, we took a break.
Oh, yeah, I guess we did take a break last week.
Don't worry, we're still going to get 52 games within the year. Yeah, we are. We're gonna do a catch-up episode. We're gonna play a bunch of short games, and you're gonna hate us.
You're going to hate us. I mean, we're only off by 1 week.
We're only going to be off by 4 weeks by the time I'm done with this year. I'm leaving for 3 weeks at one point.
We just got to beat them all by January, right?
When did we start?
November.
Okay. Wait, November?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Wait, September, November? Tell me the months.
October, November.
Where's September?
Who cares? September doesn't exist.
But that's when I'm leaving.
Oh.
Who cares? September doesn't exist. I mean, it basically doesn't now. Wait, is it 9, 10, 11? Got it.
I like
Okay.
how you're counting.
Anyway, yeah.
Game 20.
What did we play for game 20?
Ghost Trick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, developed by Capcom, in the year June 2010, Japan. Wait, is it really June 2010 for Japan and 2011 for North America?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I mean, it's not really that. It's like 6 months difference, 7 months difference.
Yeah, what do you mean that's just that much? That's a huge amount.
6 months?
Yeah.
To localize that whole game, that's just text?
Dark Souls is 3 weeks and I'm losing my goddamn mind. Like...
Oh, yeah, but they're done.
Okay, anyway.
They're not localizing it right now. They just have a different release schedule. This was probably, like, localized in 6 months.
Right. Okay, regardless. So June of 2010 for Japan and January of 2011 for North America. Released on, originally on Nintendo DS and also iOS.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was on iOS.
A lot of the Capcom visual novels made it to iOS.
I was sad to not see it on Android because that would have been probably the best way to play it for me. Because I would have not had to dig out my 3DS all the time and have it die every time I played it.
Yeah. I don't think it loses anything. It's not like I'm already off topic, but there's an iOS port for 999, and what they did was they removed all the puzzles. So it's just a visual novel that you read.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like, why would you defeat the entire purpose of that game?
I don't like that. All right, so in this game, you are a ghost.
You are dead.
Yeah, shh. Don't pull away the curtain like that.
Just in case anybody is scared, since we're going into story right now, we're gonna have very, very minor spoilers until the questions section.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
We'll highlight when we're gonna spoil things.
Because this, it's a visual novel. Visual novels, all story matters a lot. So we're gonna be a little bit more conscious of not spoiling things, in case you want to play it.
Yeah.
And you should. Sorry. So you wake up, you have amnesia, you're a ghost, a guy in a suit tries to kill this lady, kills the lady.
Kills her.
And
a lamp named Ray tells you about ghost tricks.
Yeah. And that you can go back in time 4 minutes. So that's the crux of the game's...
Only if you interact with a dead body.
Right. If you interact with someone who's been dead, you can do that.
Also, you have 24 hours, I think.
Yeah.
Or 12 hours?
Oh, Ray says, "Hey, if you no, it's not a time. It's not like an hourly time limit. It's before the sun rises.
Yeah, that's what I
which
mean.
Is 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
and I don't remember when the game starts exactly, but
7
it's basically
PM.
It's a story that takes place over the course of a single night, which is cool. I like that a lot. But yeah, Ray says he just introduces you to the game's mechanics and says, okay, you go into if you're a ghost and you go into a body, you can restart time 4 minutes before they die and change their fate.
Yeah.
That's the important part. So they were going to die, you can switch it around so that you are there and you can interact with objects, which is also kind of the mechanics.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, the story is really, you go around place to place, and you solve people's problems, minor to large problems, you know.
From death to just inconveniences.
Yeah, and they all kind of move the plot forward either a tiny bit or a lot.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes there's one, again, this happens a little bit later, but, like, it's not spoilery, where you just help a girl who's sick and, like, you, like, move her mom over or something like that. Or you get her the phone. That's really it.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's things like that. Sometimes it's a lot more serious.
I mean, sometimes you go into a room and there's just a person talking and you leave.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really do a whole bunch, but it progresses the story.
Yeah, and every time you progress the story, time moves forward. Sometimes you can go back to older areas, and you'll get a little tiny bit more story.
Well, it was interesting jumping around the story. Like, stuff doesn't feel important until very late in the game. You're like, oh, that was important, which I think is cool.
It feels like the way it's kind of set up, and it feels kind of like a detective novel, sort of.
Yeah.
Like
it is a visual novel that is a detective story.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
I think it has a little bit more of a reason to exist than most visual novels. Like, most visual novels, I feel like, could be like Fate Stay Night. You won't get that sweet hentai goodness, but of like 3 scenes, I can't remember. I've never played Fate Stay Night. I've only watched the anime, which was okay.
Which I assume is the same thing as playing it.
Minus the sex scene, so it's better. Or worse, depending on your point of view, I guess. And how much you like poorly drawn titties. So, like, Fate Stay Night could easily be like a really, really big choose-your-own-adventure novel.
Yeah. Like,
where you just flip to the pages, and it continues the story. Like, it could easily be that. Well, not easily, but it could be that. It's not like Ghost Trick doesn't work unless it's a video game.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't work as anything other than that. So it's kind of cool in that, like, kind of sense.
Like, you could try and make it into a video, but it just doesn't feel right because you're along with the mystery trying to figure things out in these puzzles.
Yeah, and the gameplay is actually fun. Like, I feel like a lot of visual novels that have gameplay are just kind of like just there, you know?
Yeah.
So again, it's like a point and click game, point and click adventure sort of. It is a little bit different, only in that, like, in a normal point and click game, like Curse of Monkey Island, or what the fuck that game's called. I don't know. I've never played it. Or Day of the Monkey Island. Again, Full Tentacle. I don't know any of these games. I've never played any of them.
It took me a second. Like, Full Tentacle. That's a really good one because I just didn't think you would go full throttle with it. Because that one's actually good. It's the only one I like playing.
Grim Tentacle. I don't know. You generally click an area and your character moves to that area. So it's a little bit different in that the cursor in this game is you. You are the cursor.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, you're a little ghost man, like a little ghost orb, and you drag the stylus to these orbs on the screen that sometimes they do things, sometimes they don't, but they're little objects. Like, they're objects just in the scene, which makes it feel like you're kind of part of the scene, which is cool.
Well, it exploits the 3DS, not the 3DS, sorry, the
DS,
Nintendo DS. Like, it's touchscreen really well. Like, point and clicks are a product of the time where they had mice. Like, you wouldn't think to click on things. Like, some games let you click on stuff clearly, but like, it's nice to see the progression of that here in like a DS game that lets you do all your action as a stylus. Yeah, it feels cool. Like, you like stretch your guy. You only have a certain radius, so it's not like you can just go anywhere. You stretch your guy to the next point, and he zooms over to it. It feels really good to like go around places really fast. Yeah, when you start to get good at what you're doing, it's really cool. And then the main mechanic is that, like, you have a certain radius, and that's all you can stretch to. Yeah. And when you stretch to certain objects, they can you can do what's called a ghost trick, which is you click the trick button, and it does something. Like, it'll roll a bowling ball, or it'll open a curtain, and they seem kind of minor, and then every single level is like this big Rube Goldberg machine. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's big machines, and they even say Rube Goldberg at one point for one of the levels you're doing. And so it's cool to kind of watch everything to come together. And there's really no way to fail when you're just doing it, when you're just progressing the story normally. However,
where the gameplay actually has a chance to kind of shine, I think, is, well, shine, and it stumbles a little tiny bit sometimes, but when somebody dies, you can only go back 4 minutes, 2 minutes. I think it's 2 minutes, not 4. You sure?
It's 4 minutes.
Okay. So when you go back in time, time starts playing out in that time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like they die, you go backwards in time, and then time starts. So you have to go and do things in an order and with the correct timing so that they get saved. If you there's usually checkpoints in between as well. Like if you get halfway through and their quote unquote fate has been averted mildly, but they're still going to die, you'll get a save point, which is nice.
Yeah.
But if you fail, you just go backwards in time again. So you can keep doing it until you get it right. But it is fun to kind of have that other, like, oh, I have to do everything in the correct order. And there's a couple puzzles that really utilize it well. Like, you can see all these tricks and what they do, and then it kind of just clicks in your head what you have to do. But, yeah, that's the gameplay. I mean, that's really all Ghost Trick is it's a story, and it's got a serviceable gameplay, I think.
Yeah. I think it's mostly story.
Yeah.
It's like 90% story, 10% gameplay.
I would say it's more than that. Like you're playing the game a lot for a visual novel.
Yeah,
especially like.
But they're more like puzzles just to get to the next part of the story. They're not.
They feel like. I mean, yeah.
So, I guess some of the puzzle can lead to more story, but most of that feels optional.
I would honestly say 70-30.
Okay, that sounds right.
Like it is mostly story. It's a visual novel in the first place, but it has a pretty good chunk of gameplay. It might even be. You might even be generous and give it more than that. Like, I mean, you're always going around doing stuff, and it always feels kind of important because they try to contextualize everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's Ghost Trick, really.
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, yeah.
I mean, if you say much more, you're going to start getting into story.
Yeah, I mean, anything more than that is story-specific, and all I'll say is the story is good. I think it's really good.
I'm not a big fan of visual novels, just in general. Except for Had a Full Boyfriend. That's probably the only one I enjoy. They can be boring depending on how they're done and how they're presented. And this one actually is presented in a way that, at first, I was like, "Oh, I'm really bored." But I think my biggest problem was playing it at night. But like, while on a trip recently, I got to play it a lot, and like, I thought I wouldn't have time. Or I wouldn't get invested because I was on a trip. Like, well, whatever. I'm going to have better things to do. But like getting home and like just relaxing, like in unwinding from the day and just in playing Ghost Trick was really nice. Like, and a couple of times I just kept playing like till 2 a.m. and I really shouldn't have because I was really tired the next day. But it was really worth it because I beat the game while I was gone. And I was like, oh, this was really fun. Like, I don't know. It's a good game. I think people should play it. Like, I didn't realize it was so good. Like,
I feel like I always sing the praises of visual novels. Like, there's some of my favorite games are all visual novels. The Zero Escape series, this game,
Gone Home, Firewatch.
Gone Home, Firewatch. But those aren't my favorite. Like, I honestly don't usually like visual novels. Like, I looked at 2 seconds of Fate Stay Night and was like, I cannot handle this. Like, it needs to bring something unique to the table, and it needs to be well written. And it's like, usually those aren't visual novels. Like, they can be really boring sometimes, and like the couple that I really really like, I like them for gameplay reasons usually. Like,
I think my biggest problem with a lot of those, like the ones I've seen and played, which I can't think of any names of them right now. Like they feel very amateurish.
Yes,
and they almost feel like fan fiction things.
Yeah, this does not feel. Ghost Trick has some fucking production value.
Yeah, it has production. It has style, lots of style. Yeah. Actually, I guess that's another thing I kind of wanted to talk about was graphically. It looks like a what is that? Action platformer? What do you call that? No, cinematic platformer. Yes, like Another World, Flashback, Prince of Persia, like the older ones.
It does have that very eerily, almost like incredibly high frame rate. Like, yeah, it kind of looks really strange.
It looks weird, and it starts, and then like it after a while you get really used to it. And you're like, oh, it actually is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I do like that about it a lot.
It's got a lot. It's, Capcom has style. Like, they know how to do style, I feel like. And they know how to write. Capcom has very specific characters that they write, which is like, they're one-note characters, but every single one-note character has a secret, and it's that they're actually two-note characters. Every single one is written like that, and yet it's always endearing, and I don't know why. Like, they're just fun to like watch interact with each other.
Yeah.
Capcom's good at that. It makes me really want to play Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I've always wanted to play those.
I've really never had a whole lot of drive to play it.
I think I played the first one, and I didn't realize what it was at the time because it had just come out, and I was like, oh, let me check this out. And I was like, I'm not feeling this. And it was just wherever I was at the time. But now, after playing a couple of these games, it's like, you know what? It probably is something I can get into now that I've got a lot of these, like Gone Home. These very, these are just story games. There's not a whole lot of figure things out.
Well, I feel like Ghost Trick's probably really close to Ace Attorney as well, just in that same, like, we're very, like, outlandish characters, but in kind of a weirdly real environment.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's so endearing about, like, this game in particular, and why I like Danganronpa. I don't think it's as good as this game or Zero Escape, especially because you could just boil it down to an anime, which they did. It's horrible. Don't watch it, but, like... Its gameplay is not important.
Yeah, I've wanted to play Danganronpa. I think you even let me borrow it at one point.
Yeah,
it's fun. Put it in my PlayStation TV and I never turned it on.
Yeah, it's a really fun story. I like its whole style, which is like incredibly outlandish characters in a very strangely real environment.
I don't know much about it, but from what I've seen, it looked like Persona 4 meets visual novel.
Persona 4.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. It's like take away the parts I don't like about Persona and make it a visual novel, which is probably why I was intrigued by it in the first place.
Yeah, I might get pushed back on that, but like I like Danganronpa. I think it's fun. Like I like the style of it a lot, like the pink blood and stuff like that.
I want to check it out. I mean,
this is just going to become me talking about visual novels.
I mean, that's fine. Anything else? Do you want to talk about that you have? Before I move on a little bit?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's Ghost Trick.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and we both like it. So in case because I think we're going to get into a little bit of spoiler town now.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, not too super spoiler, but we're on our way there.
Yeah. We're taking our one-way trip down to Spoil Town, so...
But I guess right before that,
okay.
I should just say, my only criticism with the game, because it's not spoilers, is the point and click. I know, I talked to you about it. The puzzles are really good for the most part. I would say they're really well thought out, but every once in a while you get a classic point and click flaw.
Yeah.
Which is this puzzle is designed by someone who understands it, but it does not translate to anybody else like what they were thinking when they made it. And it might be just because at the time I didn't understand it and but just a couple, I wish I had some examples on the top of my head, but they were just like, oh, that's a weird thing. And it normally had to do with the timing of things, like having to time something up that wasn't obvious. And I talked to you about this as well, where sometimes you would go through a sequence and you couldn't do anything and you would have to play the sequence again, but now you could do something, you wouldn't realize that. So it's very strange sometimes to go, oh, you can do something in this sequence now. I don't know. It just seemed like a few times, there's an early room where you move down a projector screen, I think, and it kind of stumped me because it's just what do I do? Nowhere before that is there a hint that there's timed based things. It's just suddenly, hey, this is being timed. You have to do this at this time.
I mean, I would agree. You can't avoid that in puzzle games, especially. Every once in a while you're going to have a puzzle that just wasn't made for normal humans to consume. It just happens. I think this game avoids the vast majority of it. I think the instances are pretty rare, and you have no inventory in this game, which is really nice because you'll always avoid the use pencil on rock to erupt volcano or what the fuck ever.
That I do like that it is very simple, but still complicated with its puzzles. They don't,
and they get more complicated as
I was concerned with going in visually oh, this is gonna be a Layton game. Where the puzzles have nothing to do with the story, but thankfully it immediately is it just wishes that away, and you go, oh, thank God, everything is relevant.
It's one of the things I like about Ghost Trick more than I like even about 999 is that all the puzzles mean something in 999, but really sometimes they're just there to escape the room. Yeah. Often there's a lot more there to kind of comprehend, and there's usually other things going on in each individual room that does actually progress the story, but the puzzle itself generally has not a whole lot to do with it. Versus in Ghost Trick, where every single puzzle is contextualized within the game's story.
Yeah.
Like, there's never a moment where you're like, I gotta solve a sliding block puzzle. Like, no, it's never like that. It's always real-world objects being used to push the story forward. I think that's really, really commendable and cool. Spoil Town?
Yeah, so just to get light spoils, nothing too crazy. This game feels really depressing at times. There are moments where I just feel really depressed while playing it for some reason. I think that's the nature of death and everyone's fear of death. And this game is riddled with death. This one person in particular dies over and over and over again. To
the point where every time
she's like just used to it. She's like, yeah, I'm dead.
Like, I'm back.
Yeah, and
it's great.
It's very strange, and it kind of like. It made me a little sad for some reason. It was just like, oh, I don't like this. Everything's about death in this game.
Death can happen at any time.
Yeah, and it was just strange. I don't know. It's just that something about that kind of like triggered me a little. Like, I don't want to say the word triggery, but I did now, so it's too late. It's in there.
Goobergate, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, oh, man, there's a lot of like weird, sad moments in this. Like, there's a little girl who you meet up with later who died at some point. And she says, yeah, because you get cores when you die. You get a core that you can attach to.
Yeah.
And she suddenly has one. So she had died after you met her. And it's like, oh, I don't like this world where people are just dying.
Yeah, and she's a real little girl.
Yes, very little, like 12 or 10 or something like that. So it's like, oh.
And adorable. Every single character in this entire game is adorable.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. It does well. It's generally very lighthearted. Like, it's very. I found myself laughing a lot more than I thought I would.
They definitely punctuate the deaths with very funny stuff.
Yeah.
But any thought into it is like, oh no.
Again, we're in late spoiler town, so I'm going to talk about, I think, chapter 3 or 2. I think one of the more like brutal deaths is a dog.
Oh, yeah, that's chapter, 2, I think. Or maybe 3. You're right.
I saw that a dog died, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's fucking sad.
It's like a double whammy, because it's a little girl who's about to be assassinated, instead of her death, it's a dog.
Yeah, the dog jumps in front of her, basically saves her.
Essentially, he dies just before she dies. Right. Like, it's like, whoa, this got dark. Like,
yeah. So that happens, and immediately you get to meet this dog who's the best.
Yeah, he's really funny.
Like, he's really, really funny. It really allows it to, like, go, yeah, I mean, yeah, dog died, but we're going to work it through. We're going to figure it out. We're going to fix it, and you're going to have a good time while you do it. Even though it's really dark. Don't worry about it. Like,
yeah.
It does a good job with that.
For sure. It just, I don't know. You know where I'm going with my sadness, so.
All right.
Another issue. This is a good time to like talk about that. I found it really weird that you go onto a person's body or animal's body, and you go back to 4 minutes before they died. But when you do that, their consciousness from after their death goes back in time with you.
But it also goes forward in time with you too.
I know, it's very strange.
Yeah.
Like, and then they disappear, and I go, I don't understand. Like, I understand, like,
I swear 90% of visual novels have time shenanigans in them.
Yeah, like, I don't.
Very weird.
I don't really get it. That it just felt really strange sometimes. Like, that sometimes you can talk and sometimes you can't, and I don't know. That really was weird about it. And there were certain moments like that where I felt like the mechanics of death were kind of different than I remember it being explained to me. But whatever, it all works in the end. Yeah. Like, I think it's still pretty cool. Anything else on your end?
No.
Did you want to talk about the ending?
I mean, not really.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't really see a need to.
Okay.
I
have something to say about it.
Oh, okay, you do.
But
okay.
I don't want to talk about the ending. If that makes sense, like, I feel bad like talking about it because
even if you've played the game, like, I don't know, it's weird. It's a good ending.
Yeah.
It's good.
If you want to know the ending, go read the first comment on someone's YouTube Let's Play.
But that doesn't really, like, even that, like, even knowing that, like,
still, you wouldn't know how you got there.
You wouldn't know how you got there, and you wouldn't really know the actual ending, which is really bittersweet and kind of heartwarming.
Yeah. Which is, yeah. I don't want to get into it. I don't want.
The whole game, I think, is pretty just kind of bittersweet. Just just by virtue of it being, about death. It's about ghosts. Ghosts come from death, or so I'm told, by ghost hunters.
Check it every week on Sci-Fi.
Science fiction. No, I thought it was on Discovery Channel because it's
science. Yeah, it might be. It's science. It's real.
Real science. Okay, so now we're gonna get into potentially like real spoilers about like areas and stuff like that. So, and this is gonna be our question section. So normally we would do questions and then probably like a conclusion afterwards, but I think we can do a little conclusion right now, which is, I really.
If you have an iPhone, go buy this game.
Yeah, or if you have a 3DS or a DS.
Yeah, even that, please. It's really good. Yeah. Like,
and it really
I hate video games, and I had a great time with this.
It's only 40 to 30% of video game. That's great.
Yeah.
But no, it's a really great little game.
It has a really endearing story somehow. I was surprised to feel the cockles of my heart get warmed at some point.
If you like Capcom games and Capcom style, like if you have any emotion towards Ace Attorney, I assume. I guess I haven't really played it, so I don't really know. But I assume if you like Ace Attorney, you'll definitely like Ghost Trick. If you like Zero Escape, you'll probably like Ghost Trick, though it has a way different tone because it's like lighthearted. Any visual novel that's kind of wacky and has style, you'll really like Ghost Trick. And if you don't like any of those things,
you might still like it.
Yeah, you might still like it. I don't really know. If any of the art that's on screen right now, if you're watching it on the YouTube version, or if you just go look up Ghost Trick, interests you, there you go.
It visually, it's really great. Even if you, I think it's a good game all around. Like, I don't know if it's a kids game. I think it's a teen game.
I think it could be a kids game.
I guess kids aren't.
I mean, I think it's T for teen, but
yeah, I don't think kids would be harmed by. It's cute deaths.
It's not like it's like mountains of gore.
Like,
or anything
like
that.
One lady gets squished by a giant chicken at one point.
Yeah,
like it's very strange. Sometimes.
Like, I think kids know that people die. Like,
but there's some mature themes in it, though. I feel with the mother, who
she writes romance novels.
She's always drinking that glass of wine.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
she's kind of estranged from her husband.
I would not feel bad about having a kid play this, and I feel like they'd come out of it better. Like. They get back together in the it's got a nice little ending to it. That's really cool. And
that's true.
Like I don't think there's anything wrong with kids seeing people drink wine. Like they're gonna see it eventually. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
And it's not at no point does somebody explode and then have the entrails be described for 3 paragraphs. Like that's the opening of 999. It's nothing dark.
Yeah.
Really dark. It's got that darkness that what this kind of reminds me of? Older Disney and kids movies, like Watership Down, and maybe not Watership Down.
Yeah, I was like,
I'm sorry.
That is anything but a kids movie. Good Lord. I feel bad for your kids. You're going to fuck them up. Clockwork Orange, Watership Down.
Battle Royale. Teach them good things.
Jesus Christ.
But it reminds me of those
Father of the Year right here.
Older kids movies that are not afraid to show darker themes.
Like the Goonies. The Goonies is a good example where they have swear words and
they're going on an adventure and you learn something about
it's about kids and not these fake kids. It's about real people, and that's what I like about those kids movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Another good example would be the Toaster Who Could.
Yes, that is not the name of that, but yes, Brave Little Toaster.
Brave Little Toaster. That's the name of it. Which has very dark themes, which might not even be a kids movie. The more I think about it, every day,
it's a kids movie, but it's something like that.
Yeah, it's got very dark themes, but it's clearly for children, and they can enjoy it because it's darker. I think there's not enough content like that anymore, where things are made for kids that is darker, like real life. Yeah,
real life's dark. It's like a depressing black hole that sucks your soul out every single moment you exist.
Good night.
Questions. So yeah, real spoiler time.
Sure. What's your favorite character?
Missile. I feel like it's hard for it not to be Missile. Do you have a favorite character that's not Missile?
Yeah.
Who?
The chef.
What chef?
The chicken chef.
Oh yeah. Why though?
He's so cool. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it Missile?
No.
Who is it?
Sissel.
Wait. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
See, this is where it gets complicated. I mean, we're in real spoiler hours, so
yeah. So if you're hit this point, you should know that we're going to talk about
spoilers. Things. I don't want to talk in depth about the ending or anything like that. Real Sissel or not real Sissel?
I like the not real Sissel.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
The body or the soul?
Oh, I liked it when Sissel thought he was someone else.
Okay.
The whole time.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. I really, he's a really endearing character. I like that he's your main character.
They just keep showing you as one person.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, this is cool. Like,
yeah.
And when the ending came, I was like, oh, that's even cooler. Like, oh, you got me. I didn't know. And I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, but he's
I like him.
Character.
Like, he's trying to do something. Like, he doesn't have, like, clear motivations.
Yeah.
He's really just trying to figure out who killed him.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, I guess I should help people.
Yeah.
Like, he's weird, because he kind of feels like he's not like a goody two-shoes kind of character.
Yeah.
But he's got that kind of innocence about him in a way.
That's what I liked versus Missile, who's just dumb. Like, I don't have a problem with him being dumb. But he's just, he reminds me of, like, my dog. Like, that's what he would be if he died.
I just feel like it captures that character really well.
Yeah, and that's fine. I just don't think he's very dynamic compared to Sissel.
No. But they also don't use Missile that often.
No.
But whenever they do, you're always just like, he's a breath of fresh air every time.
And his wiser version of himself is also very endearing. It's just like, oh, okay. Very strange.
I like the all caps that they break out for him all the time. It's good. What's your favorite sequence from the game? Since I'm just gonna steal your question because I didn't write any.
That's fine. The sequence it's hard to explain in over radio, but it's
radio.
There's a sequence of like 4 rooms, and it's like a prison. Mm-hmm. And you make your way through them in such a unique way where you get flushed down the toilet.
Yeah.
Via these like weird notes on the wall. This guy has an X and an O. And he rips one off the wall and he puts it down the toilet. And it flushes you all the way down to the bottom cells. And you get hooked on a hook, and which is all really weird. Like at first, like you don't really understand what's happening. But like once it all starts to come clear that this guy's sending notes down to another cell where this guy's digging a hole behind his toilet. And the notes hit a hook that rings a bell, so he knows to come back out. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
There's just so much going on in that sequence. I was like, this is really cool. Like, and I like that getting around the room stuff was really cool.
You wrote down here. Spoiler alert: we're looking at a Google Docs while we say this stuff. You wrote down here Jake-jail. I assumed you meant the jail escape, which I was really surprised about because I was like that. I thought that was the part where you were going to drop the game.
No, that part wasn't that bad actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I just think it doesn't work as well as it should.
I guess, like, real quick, mechanically, I guess I kind of forgot about this. Like, the game doesn't really punish you for screwing up. They kind of want you to do things over and over a couple of times to really figure them out. Almost like that's built in because, like, I don't know how else you would figure a lot of this stuff out. You literally have to just keep doing it and try different things. And that you cannot try the same thing. Like, that's one of the things I figured out. It's like, try something else. Like, this didn't work? Okay, let me do this. Like, clearly this route isn't what I'm supposed to do. There should be some type of feedback. And I think that's a part of the problem was I kept getting these little moments where I wasn't getting feedback, and that's where I would get stuck. Like, there was no, like, what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
I feel like that happened a little bit with the chicken room, where I was getting lost, like, going upstairs, and, like, that sequence, like, I was like, I don't see where to go, because, like, you have to wait.
Yeah.
Like, and that was kind of annoying. Like, and that happens a couple times. Like, you have to wait for things.
Yeah,
and
every once in a while. It's hard to get around that because those puzzles are time based. So it's like
what I figured out was if you're listening now, too late. I could have helped you earlier, and I didn't. But if you get to like the fate changes, you should let the sequence play out again. I think from the fate change. Because if you change things from the way it happened the first time, you get a fate change, which gives you like a checkpoint.
Yeah.
So things are going to play out differently. And I guess my problem was I wasn't really letting those play out in their entirety before restarting. Yeah. Like I was getting caught up with the original plans Like I already made strategies for the first part, and I thought they would carry over, not realizing, that doesn't work anymore. Like I got to do this. So again, that's just weird stuff. Did you have a sequence in the game that you really enjoyed?
It's the sequence where through a series of events you end up on a fucking sinking ship.
Submarine,
excuse me. And you work your way, the submarine turns vertical, and you have to work your way up. We're in spoiler town. I really just didn't want, when I was talking about gameplay, I really didn't want to spoil this part. You do get access to another ghost, and it's Missile's ghost.
Yeah. Well, this sequence is cool because just before you did it normal.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. You didn't do the whole thing, but you did parts of it. And then immediately it flips, and you have to do it.
And you do a really strange,
and so you have to completely forget what you were just kind of doing and do it differently.
But so you get Missile a little bit earlier, who let himself die to save his master. He was gone for too long, and he died, or whatever. I don't really know how it works.
He died in the park.
Yeah, he dies in the park, so he has the ability. He doesn't have a ghost trick, or he does have a ghost trick, but his is not like yours. Your ghost trick is you can manipulate objects and they move and stuff like that. His is that two objects that are the same shape can be swapped.
Yeah.
Which is very, very interesting. It's really cool to add it to the puzzles, and they never overuse it. They use it like 3 times, and it's fun every time. Just because they're not constantly doing it with you. But so that section where you're working your way up vertically, you have Sissel going one way, one way, Missile going another way, swapping things while and it's all a little bit time-based, and it's very cool. I really, really like that sequence on a puzzle level.
To me, though, that sequence was very tedious. I don't know if there was something I was missing, but it seemed like I had to do a lot of trial and error with it to get these gears figured out into what order they needed to go in. Oh. Like, I didn't realize, I thought, it can't be, obviously biggest to smallest. I thought they were all doing different things. No, it's just biggest to smallest.
It's the difficulty is...
I'm not saying, I spent, an hour on it, but, it took me a little... I was like, oh, okay, I see.
I mean, it's just the puzzle... I saw that and was like, yeah, biggest... I did it once, the trick, just to see where it went.
You see all these staircases are in a different shape.
Okay, I gotcha. And then I just switched them down. The puzzle was just switching them out so that they were in the right sequence. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a cool sequence. I like it more than Missile's introduction in the park.
Where he does the stupid big ball thing? Yeah, I don't get that one. That one was really weird, too.
Yeah. That one stumped me for a while. I don't know why.
Because you have to, I think you have to launch something up a tree or knock something out of a tree, and it just took so long to get, I was like, how is there time left for this person to live? There's so much I'm doing. Would you like to see a sequel?
I was going to say it. The original question for those at home is, was there anything you would like to see in a sequel?
Yeah, I meant to add another question there, but I forgot.
My answer was going to be nothing. Yeah. I wouldn't want a sequel.
All right. But, this went to be a 2-part question.
Yeah, okay.
Regardless, because I was going to ask, if there was a sequel, regardless if you wanted it, what kind of mechanics would you like to see in it? Would you want to see a different type of ghost trick?
I think this one works really well. This kind of ghost trick works really well as far as, it gets you immersed in the world because you think about, you constantly look at real-world objects and you go, without even having to get to them, you have a pretty general idea of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Umbrella, it's going to open. The bicycle, it's going to move. You have that already ingrained in your head by being a human. So, I think that his version of a ghost trick just works really well for a game as a main character.
Could it translate into 3D?
Yeah, it'd be horrible, but it could do it.
Probably. I think if they did it Katamari, cartoony.
Oh yeah.
Not very simple, rooms and stuff. I'm like those escape rooms.
Yeah.
I think it would work.
Well, what would be cool is if they just remove the ghost trick element entirely and they just have escape rooms, but 9 of them, right? Change the tone of the game. Be really good. Great game. I'd probably play it. Probably play 2 of them and wait for a third one to come out forever, get told it got canceled, and then be really happy when it got announced. And then be kind of sad because the dub sounds fucking awful. But that'd be really weird. I couldn't see that happening.
Well, good night, everybody.
I have a question for you. Do you? I remember we talked before you left for New York, and you said you didn't like Detective Cabinella. Cabela?
Yeah.
Do you still not like Detective Cabinella?
No, not really.
Oh.
I feel like he was a dickhead for no reason.
He's a cool dickhead though, and he got a cool dance.
If he didn't do the dancing, I might have appreciated him.
Fuck off.
I don't. His dancing and that guard's dancing were the worst. I don't like dumb dancing, I guess.
I guess I just really like dumb dancing.
Yeah, that's what it seems. I just didn't appreciate it. I was like, yeah, whatever. He's like, that's my panic dance. And I was like, what? What is this?
It feels very Capcom-y.
I think the problem with that guy's dancing, the guard, is he just keeps doing it. So it doesn't really work, whereas Cabanera does this Michael Jackson moves everywhere, and it's just like, why? It's so cringy feeling for some reason to me.
No.
Like, I just imagine, like, all the other people in the department, like, this guy's in fucking charge. He just fucking dances all the goddamn time. Like, no one can take him seriously.
Everyone's like that in this world, and that's why I feel like I can handle him. Versus, like, if he just showed up and it was a more realistic world, like, look at all those crazy characters. Like, I could see a Michael Jackson dancing detective be in charge of something in this world.
I guess. I didn't like him for some reason.
Yeah,
you didn't click with me. That's all right, though. All right.
Yeah, that's Ghost Trick. Join us next week for Gunpoint?
Gunpoint.
Let's just do Dark Souls.
I wish.
Let's just do Dark Souls.
We could always move Gunpoint.
Join us next week for Dark Souls. I just made an executive decision because I really want to talk about Dark Souls.
I really do want to talk about Dark Souls.
And then it'll be the week before Dark Souls 3 comes out in America.
Yeah.
There's a day one patch for the Dark Souls 3.
Oh, I can't imagine why.
Neither can I.
It's going to be all the content that they just translated in the last 3 weeks. Because there's no English.
There's peas in there.
I was waiting. Like, he's going to say it at some point in this episode. Like, I know it. We always sneak our memes in there when, like, we watch them like 10 minutes before we start.
That's the problem, is I just sit there and I watch a bunch of videos and I'm just like, I need to say all these things. All right, yeah, join us next week for Dark Souls.
Dark Souls
1.
The first one.
Yeah, Prepare to Die edition.
Yep. Out now on Steam.
Buy it through our web store.
Our web zone.
Our web zone. Profits go to me.
But not me.
Not Jake.
I don't get
Just
the profits. I didn't set that up.
Yeah. So if you really like listening to people talk about / complain about Dark Souls, you're in for a treat. Because it's probably going to be it's either going to be a really long episode or a really short episode, which means it's going to be a really long episode.
It's going to be like 4 hours long.
It's going to be 4 hours long. It's going to be that Fallout 4 video, but it's going to be me talking about... What are you staring at over there?
I was just looking at the time.
It's this episode that we said was going to be super short.
59 minutes.
Oh, that's not so bad.
Yeah, and at the beginning, it's a bunch of junk anyway.
Yeah.
So, good night.
Pulling back the curtain. Good night.
I don't know how I'm going to end this. It's going to be so hard to edit out the ending.
We're all ending. Just put that in there. Good night.
Good night.